This is In Their Closet Podcast.
Welcome to In Their Closet. I'm your host, Elle Moore, and today we're joined by Candice Easley, the CEO of Tresor Cache Boutique.
All right. You got it just right.
Candice says, my love affair with fashion began when I was just a little girl. I would ride to the Houston Galleria, the Village, and boutiques with my mother and great aunts 2 or 3 times a week shopping. Her mother worked at night and she shopped during the day, and her love for finding deals emerged shopping as she shopped in the basement at Foley's with her grandmother. After graduating high school, Candice became a full-time student and attended the University of Houston, graduating with a business management degree and marketing. While already fast and steady in her career at an HP remarketing company, she began laying the roots in the corporate world and later moved on to Baker Hughes and then General Electric. In January of 2015, Candice received news that would ultimately change her life forever. She was diagnosed with oral cancer, adenoid cystic carcinoma. She was faced with a rare form of oral cancer for God's chosen rare jewel. She endured 4 surgeries, and her ability not to eat and drink, she took a dramatic 50-pound weight loss and learning to speak again in 1 year. It was only by God's grace that she's here to share her story with us today. Welcome, Candice.
Thank you. Thank you.
So glad to have you.
I am excited to be here.
I met you a while ago while doing some red carpet work with a charity organization here in Houston. And I heard your story and I said, I've got to get you on because, first of all, you're incredible and amazing.
Thank you.
A blessing. I mean, I love that testimony, but also you've got some great fashion.
I do a little something.
So let's get into it. So you're
Right.
here from Houston?
I am from Houston, born and raised.
Okay.
Been here all my life.
Okay.
Of course, traveled the world, but I've never lived anywhere else. I've only lived in Houston.
Okay. Wow.
Northwest side of town, so I'm a north sider.
What high school?
Went to Langham Creek.
Okay.
Yes, graduated from Langham Creek High School.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Houston. Langham Creek, what's that? Cypress.
Cypress.
And Cypress has changed so much.
Oh my, it doesn't even look the same.
No.
I feel like it's doing something completely different.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. I drove by my old high school probably about 3 or 4 months ago. And I was like, it doesn't even look the same over here. Like even the roads are open and I'm like, this used to be like a dead end. And now it's like a whole street in a neighborhood.
I grew up in a small town in Central Texas. I was born in Houston and then we moved back to Houston when I was in high school. And I remember seeing Langham Creek and I was thinking, that looks like a college. Like
yes, it was
everything.
huge.
Yes. Everything in Houston was like crazy big to me. And the first high school I saw was Langham Creek because that's where my aunt and uncle stayed. It's a small world.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're married. You have a son. I do see you post, your beautiful pictures of your family personally on your personal page. But I see that you post all your fashions and you're pretty consistent and your fashion is daily and it's changing. It's ever evolving and it encompasses a whole mass of different styles so that any woman could appreciate it.
So when I think about TCB, so that's the acronym for Tresor Cache Boutique.
TCB babes, are y'all here with us?
Are y'all here slay the TCB way? Okay. But when I think about the boutique and when I think about fashion, and even I think about myself as a mom, I'm a mom, but I'm also a wife, but I'm also a girlfriend.
Yes.
I also want to be a little fast sometimes, but I need to be a little more casual sometimes. So with that, I always try for the store to encompass a little bit of everything. For the woman who comes in, it's like, I'm going to a game, but I still kind of want to be cute, but I want to be casual. For the ladies, like, no, I'm bossing up.
Yeah.
I got to go to a convention. I got to go do this for work. So I want that nice blazer, nice slack outfit for her. Or for somebody that's like, girls, me and my girlfriends are going out. I'm going out with Babe. We're going on date night. Okay, well, I want a nice bandish dress for her. Or just like a chill, relaxed look. So I try to have a little bit of everything.
You do all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cover all of it. But the cool thing is that as a wife, as a mom, as a girlfriend, you're able to, we identify with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
You wear a lot of hats.
I do. I try to tell people it's okay to be all of these things.
Yes.
Because I feel like sometimes, even us as women, I feel like sometimes you feel like you have to choose, well, if I'm a career mom, like, I mean, if I'm have heavy in my career, like my child's going to suffer, like, and then people that are stay-at-home moms, well, I wish I could kind of go do this. And if you do stay at home and that's your thing, that's your jam, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I do feel like we can do it all. Why
Yeah.
not? Like, who says that we can't? It just becomes, and people always say, how do you do all this stuff? And I'm like, it's just a balancing act.
Yeah.
Like, of understanding and knowing how many these different pieces of yourself that you can actually give. So, and then you always, as Uncle Clifford say, save a little tea for yourself. Have to save a little room
Save a
for
little tea
yourself.
for yourself.
Right.
I feel like a woman can do it all. I just feel like maybe you can't do it all at the same time.
Right.
So when you get married, you got to lay down that foundation. You got to be with your
so
man.
blessed.
And then when you're a mom, you got to lay that foundation. And then when you start that bit, everything, you got to put some time in all that
You
before it starts running on clockwork.
You
And
do.
even once it starts running on clockwork, you still got to tap back in. And yeah.
17 years. Like, so my husband and I, September 21st will be 17 years.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about. You make it look easy, but you put in some work.
Oh, we've put in some work. I tell people all the time, I had a lady, we were on our anniversary trip last year, year before last, and the lady was like, how old are you? And I was like, honey, I'm 40. She's like, you're not 40. I was like, I am. At the time I was 40. She's like, oh my God. And you've been married for 15 years? Oh my God. You know, like I was a dinosaur. And I'm like, no, she's like, how?
Yeah.
Like how?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I said no. And I tell people this all the time when people ask me, how have I been married so long? Actually getting married young, because I feel like
Right.
people are getting married older and older.
Yes.
Women are doing their thing in
Yes.
their careers.
Yep.
You know, so that whole 25 getting married, for me, I feel like it's kind of like antiquated.
Yeah.
But I told her, I said, I was blessed. And I tell people this all the time. I was blessed that my husband and I grew up together. So a lot of times she's like, how does this work? Because you're still young. And I said, we grew up and into one another because I am definitely not 25-year-old Candice. Like,
Wow.
I'm not that girl. But my husband is not 25-year-old Terrence either. So I feel like I was blessed in that when we grew up, and people are like, grew up, you were 25, but I still feel like we grew up.
Yes.
So I feel like we grew up together and more into one another than apart. Because
Yeah.
a lot of times when things are happening and the dynamics of the relationship are changing and roles are changing, because we do not have domesticated roles at our house.
Yes.
Woman does this. My husband cooks 95% of the time.
Wow.
But I cook when I get ready, when I feel like it. But my husband, he just loves to cook. He's a very good cook. He loves to cook. So he ends up cooking more than me. But my husband is not cleaning up either. Like, he's not, I fold all his clothes. I put all of his things up. Like, so I feel like, and I tell people that too, do what works at your ship. Run your
Right.
ship how your ship works. Because there's some men that's like, I'm not cooking anything.
Right.
And I'm like,
I'm the man, you the woman.
right. And my husband's like, guess what I cook, or I cook this, or send me this recipe, or what do you guys
Wow.
want to eat? So he does most of the cooking, but he ain't cleaning.
We've
He's
talked
not.
a lot about relationships on the podcast, especially last season. We had a lot of men come on and share their ideas about women and, you know, what they should bring to the table. Having a grandmother, having a mom, I'm sure they were influential in
man.
how you decided on the spouse partner that you end up with, but also having that foundation, you know,
Right.
probably helped as well.
Yes. And I know for me too as well, it's my godfather. It's so funny. My godfather, I lived with him probably, let's see, when I was in college, my sophomore to senior year. And ultimately until after I graduated. And it's so funny because my godfather is the resident cook
Oh,
at their
wow.
house, right? I ended up moving with them when I was in college, and he's a resident cook, so it's so funny. And his
Wow.
name is Terrence too.
Oh, my
So people
goodness.
are always like, "So did you go try to clone Teapot?"
Did you manifest this,
Right.
girl?
But it's funny because I saw even in him and with them and in their house, like how they ran their ship like on their own, not with these roles of who should be doing this,
Okay.
who should do that. And when I tell you that him and his wife, my CC Cheryl, they're just like, I just see black excellence when I see them as far as the dynamics of a relationship. They are true like partners in teams. And I always said, when I get married, like I need a team, I need a partnership, because I know I'm a girl on the go.
Yeah.
I've always been a girl.
And you
on
knew
the
that
go.
you would be.
And I knew that I would be. And I said, I need somebody that's okay me being the girl on the go, because I couldn't have a husband that was like, be right here, sit right here, be
Right.
here, do this. Like, we would break up, we'd be gone.
Yeah.
We broke up a long time ago. So my husband is real just chill, laid back. Now when he's like boss lady,
Yeah.
he can say boss lady. When he's like boss lady, I'm like, okay, what's up? Like, like, okay, what do I need to do? But for the most part, he's like chill, relax. He's like, do your thing. Okay, boss lady. Like, but and the fact that he loves to see me in my element,
Yeah.
that's something else too. That he's always like, cause on my way here, he's like, where are you going? He's like, I saw something on the calendar. I'm like, I got to do a podcast. He's like, okay, boss lady, I can't wait to see it. Like, so to have that camaraderie of him in the corner right now, he's interviewing and doing different roles at work, and I'm like, wait, let me see it. No, you need to say this. You need to say that. No, let me change this. And he's like, okay, but that team, I knew I always wanted to have a teammate, like, and I feel like that's just what we are. But yeah, very influential of seeing even my mom and my dad. My dad was the guy that got up and warmed up the car,
Yes.
made sure, like, if it was ice or anything. Like, my mom didn't do like
Yes.
any of that kind of
Yes.
stuff. But so I was like, okay, I need that guy. I
Yes.
need that kind of guy.
I think it's nice when, because in 2022 we have all kind of lists. Get this kind of person. Get this kind. What do you bring to the table?
Yeah.
I think, and we were just talking about in our last interview. We were just talking about, high value is what's valuable to me. What the list that I check that compliment me.
Right.
It's not what society says. It's not a specific type of income that he needs to bring.
Right.
It's what complements my lifestyle and what complements me. So
Right.
I don't know that. When I met my husband when I was 25 years old too, and then we shortly were married. I keep saying my husband, my ex-husband, y'all. he's still my best friend, so I don't know how to.
Yeah.
But I do understand how establishing that when you were younger and how that's played off, and that's a huge testimony within itself. So many people right now want a viable, beautiful relationship that works, not just at the 20s or the 30s,
Right.
but you want forever after.
Right. And I feels like too, I think we get, especially in our society in this age of social media, I think everybody gets on social media too, and they look at these picture
Yes.
perfect things that are not real. Like,
Yes.
it's not.
It's not real,
it's
y'all.
not real. I tell
It's
people,
social media.
It's social. So I'm socially
Yes.
showing you the things that I want you to see.
Right.
So I think people get that all mixed up. I'm like, that is not really how
Yes.
this works. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not how it works. So, and I feel like and I go back to, I tell people all the time, run your ship, how your ship runs. Like, just because the woman is supposed to cook all the time, that may not work in
Right.
your household. It may work where your husband cooks, or or the man is supposed to do this, that, and the third. Well, in your house, it may be that you do this role or he does that role. But whatever it works for your ship, understand and know that. And going back to what you just said, what is the high value items for you? What do you need from you? For me, I need someone in my corner saying go, especially in the business I'm in. I can have 1 month and oh my God, we got thousands of orders. Got to get out the order. And the next one, you're like, oh, what happened?
Right.
The TCB is still alive. What's going on here? Like, so you need that person's like, babe, you got it. You got
Yes.
this. You need that. And somebody else may not need anybody doing all that. So, run your ship.
Do you feel like you married your best friend?
No.
How would you say when people say marry your best friend? What would you say in regards to that?
This is so funny. My sister is about to eat me up in your comments when she sees this, because I tell people all the time, Terrence is my friend. We're very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
He's my partner. He's my ride or die. But he's not my best friend. And for me, now it could be different for someone else.
Yeah.
But for me, I can't have him be my best friend. And the reason I can't have him be my best friend, because I have so many things and so many hats that I just talked about that I wear. And there are certain things that I want to talk about or that I need to get off my chest and that I want to leverage. That I need my girl, my best friend.
Yeah.
And not saying that it has to be a girl, it could be a guy.
Yeah.
But I feel like I need another dumping ground outside of you. Who am I
A different opinion.
Who am I going want to talk to about you too.
Oh.
For me, I've never been, people are like, you had your best friend. I'm like, Tears is not my best
Oh
friend.
my God.
And people are always like, oh my God. Like, it's so, like, I said I was going to do an Instagram rant one day about people get so shocked when I
Yes.
say that, like, oh, your husband's not your best friend? I'm like, no.
Would you be comfortable having another male best friend?
I could.
Would your husband be okay with that? You call him and tell him everything, but not your husband?
I don't know if he would be okay. He might. Terrence is so like
laid back and chill.
He's so chill. But I'm just like, he's just not my. But people are like, what? Your husband's not your best friend? I'm like, no. I'm like, but I'm not his best friend either. And we're okay with that. Like he has two.
He's my husband, and that's good enough.
He has two best friends. And one that passed that he loved dearly. Now, that was my boy, but like those are his best friends.
Yeah.
We're not best friends, and I am okay with that.
Yeah, y'all have different areas in your life that you.
But now my husband is up here though. Like
yes.
So it's not. Well, he's my husband.
Yes.
So he's like already like
right.
trumping everybody else.
Right.
Because he's my husband. But I'm like, no, he's not my best friend. And people always are like, oh, everybody clenches their pearls when I say it. Because people are like, marry your best friend. And
yes.
I'm like, no.
Marry the person you like a lot.
Yeah. Or that you. And I was like, I don't understand why I said, my husband, I love my husband. I'm in love with my husband. There is a love that I have for my husband that trumps all loves that I have for anyone.
Yeah.
So I can't even box that into a best friend title because it's just so much more than that. But yeah, people are always clenching their pearls when I say that.
I'm a girl. I probably have a lot of alpha energy, and I love being social. I love hanging out with women. I love making new connections, but I've always just loved to hang out with guys. I was a tomboy until I was like maybe 16 and until I like started noticing guys.
Yeah.
But so when I had stronger friendships before I was married, most of those were guys. Uh-huh. And when I started dating my ex-husband, he said, I don't want you to have like guy friends. I want to be your best guy friend. Mm-hmm. And so like while he and I were dating in our relationship, he became like a really good friend of mine. And then I saw him, our relationship grew into the romantic part, but I probably would not be with him today if he wasn't my friend first.
Yeah. Terrence and I were friends first. We went to church together. We've known each other since we were 9, 10 years old.
Now, see, that's crazy.
We didn't start dating.
Oh my goodness.
Until we were 19.
Wow.
Started dating. But we knew each other. We were friends before we even. But he still wasn't my best friend at that point.
Oh my gosh.
We were just friends.
At 19, you guys.
We started dating at 19.
So the guy at 9 years old, when did he switch over and you were like, he's cute?
When he came back from college.
Okay, so you guys had a little break.
So he went away to college, had a basketball scholarship, went on to play basketball, and then he played basketball through high school and all that. But it was something about that. I don't know, that maturation process that happened in New Mexico. But when he came back for the summer, I was like, oh, okay. Oh, hey, what's up?
I love it. I love that you knew him all that time, and then something happened.
It just was like a switch clicked on, and I was like, okay, he kind of cute.
I love that you took time, met your partner, because where I'm going with this conversation is the importance of, just having a really good friend and having a good partner, because you never know what life is going to send you. Mm-hmm. When we take our vows, they say, good times and bad, sickness and health. Mm-hmm. And for you, that was a serious part in your life.
It was.
And that was tested. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that.
So in 2015, I had my wisdom teeth removed. And when I had my wisdom teeth removed, there was a little bump at the roof of my hard palate. So your hard palate, if you take your tongue and put it up against the bridge of your mouth, that's your hard palate.
Okay.
So my hard palate had a small bump on it, and it didn't hurt, it didn't blister or anything, but it was this bump. So my wisdom teeth were impacted. They started to bother me. And I showed my aunt this bump and my sisters too, and they were both like, everybody need to get checked out.
Yeah.
There was a lady that came to our church. It was a Cancer Awareness Month, and she's talking about a form of oral cancer that she had.
Mm.
And then I was like,
What?
It wasn't the same strand that I had, but it was a form of oral cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But then it still really didn't
Register
in my brain. So I have these wisdom teeth pulled, and of course, the oral surgeon is like, I think this is I forgot what the name of it, what he said he thought it was, but it basically is some type of growth. But he was like, he didn't even himself think that it was cancer.
Right.
So he cut it off when I had the wisdom teeth removed. He said, well, you know what? I'm going to send it off to Anderson. I'm going to biopsy it, and let's just make sure, that everything's good to go. So I was like, okay, cool. So I get this phone call. I'm at work. I'm at GE at the time. I'm sitting at my desk. I'm actually getting ready to go into a meeting. And I get this call, and they're like, we need you to come in, and we need you to bring someone with you. And I was like, why? What's happening? I'm going into a meeting.
Oh
like
my
I'm
gosh.
busy.
Right.
This is what I'm on the phone.
I don't have time for this.
I have time for this. And so she's like, no, like we need you to come. And I was like, no, but I'm gonna have to come tomorrow or like later in the week. And then it was something about the way she said, Mrs. Easley, we need you to come now.
Wow.
Not tomorrow.
Wow.
Now. And it was just like the now. It was like I could hear in her voice that it was like now. And I was like, okay, well, let me gather my things. Like, what's happening? Like, what's going on? It still didn't cross my mind.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I actually get there and I go into the room, and he's like, we got good news, we got bad news. And he was like, the good news is Miss Hollywood, because he would call me Hollywood.
Of course.
He's like, the good news, Miss Hollywood, you look amazing today. And
you showed up at the doctor's office looking amazing.
And I was like, what? He's like, now the bad news. And when he grabbed my hand, I was like, oh, this is like serious.
Oh my gosh.
He was like, you have cancer.
Whoa.
And I literally felt like it was a moment in time. It was like crickets, like everything stopped.
Yes.
And I just was like, what?
Yeah.
And he's like, you have cancer. And I was like, how?
Right.
What?
I feel great. I look amazing.
What? I'm like, how?
Right.
I'm confused. And he's like, well, I made an appointment for you in the morning. And I was like, sir, in the morning, like I need to process what you just told me. He's like, yeah, but
the urgency of all this.
Yes. He's like, unfortunately, we need to understand the stage of what you have because this type of cancer is very aggressive. So we don't have time like to play around. And I was like, what? At the time, my husband's working overseas. He was in, he was at the time, I think he was in Iraq. And I was like, wait, what? Whoa, like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, so in the morning. And he's like, in the morning, 9 a.m.
Wow.
In the morning. You're going to go see Dr. Shum. Like he's already scheduled. So I'm like, this is serious. Like, because these people are already sending me places. So I still didn't tell Terrence at this point. That was the hardest person to tell.
Wow.
Because he was so far.
Yeah.
And so I knew that he would be like, I can't get to you. I can't do it. Like
feeling kind of helpless.
Right. So I was like, I can't. I was talking to my mom. I'm like, we cannot tell Terrence anything until we figure everything out.
Yeah, till we know a little bit more.
I need to give him, he's going to ask questions. I don't have anything. So I go through all these series of tests and so the doctor is like, you weren't ever tired? And I was like, yeah, but I'm always tired. I do a lot of stuff. And he's like, the size of the tumor, like, I can't believe it was ever draining your energy. And I was like, what? So he's like, yeah, you got stage 2B, you almost stage 3. And I was like, wait, what is happening here? He was like, yeah, so we're going to have to put you in the surgery. And I was like, whoa. So I said, I didn't call my husband. I got to get him here. So we had to do Red Cross to get Terrence back. But I had to call him and tell him that, hey,
wow,
I have this cancer. And he's like, what?
Just didn't make sense.
And we both were on the phone, FaceTime, tears just
yes.
falling.
Because that word is so scary.
Because when you hear it,
yes,
you just automatically think, I'm dying.
Yes.
Like death becomes me.
Yes.
And especially in my case, because I was thinking, I was like, so how do we treat this? How do we do this? And they're like, oh, well, you're with this particular strand, you're like number four. Wait, what's happening here? Like, do we not know? I'm on a test dummy. Like, what's going on?
Wow.
He's like, it's just so rare. And then he said, typically the cases that they have found, it is white, male, heavy smoker, over 50.
Whoa.
And I'm like, sir, look at me.
Right. All the opposite.
I am none of these things.
The opposite.
So how in the world?
Wow.
And then I get this. He's like, it's just where I was like, did I eat something? Was I doing something? Like, is it genetic? He's like, you can't stop. You're not get on the internet.
Right.
You gotta start reading.
Yes.
It's rare. You're gonna be okay. We're gonna treat this. We're gonna fight it, and you're gonna be fine. So I was like, okay. So Terrence comes home. I go into the first surgery. The surgery was so long. Terrence was like, I was just pacing, like, when he's like, because then they were like, she could not be able to talk. She could not be able to do this. We could have to put cut her throat and put the incubator in. We could, like, all of these what if, because I told the doctor before I went into surgery, I was like, tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
Like, I need to be prepared when I open my eyes. Like, am I going to be able to talk? He's like, you will not talk. And I was like, wait, that's all I do is talk. What do you mean? He's like, you will not talk.
Wow.
For at least 2 weeks. You can't talk at all for 2 weeks at least. And then we'll eventually start trying to let you talk. And I was like, what? I'm a talker. Like, I have this business. I have this job. Like, what do you mean I'm not going to be able to talk? And he's like, and then you're going to sound funny. We're going to have to try to, we'll keep rebuilding the prosthetic till we get it as close to your voice as we possibly can. And I was like, okay. So then months went by. So I had a total of 4 surgeries. So I have no hard palate, no soft palate, no nasal cavity, and then the pieces of this up here is gone.
Okay.
So I tell people all the time, if you only knew, I don't look like what I've been through.
Absolutely.
But I had to learn how to eat, talk, drink, all that again. I still have a feeding tube scar. I had to get fed through here.
Wow.
Because I couldn't eat anything. So they were feeding me through my stomach.
Wow.
I went from, I think when I went in, I was 100, and people were, I was like, you weren't that big. I was like, I was.
You were 100 and what?
I was 153 pounds.
And you're what, 5'2"?
5'4".
5'4".
So when I went,
but 5'4", 150, it's a little thick.
Yeah. So I was fine.
It's looking a little thick.
I was fine. In my head, baby, I was like, oh, she is fine. And that's back when I was working out all.
Oh, yeah.
I used to work out probably 3-4 times a week. And so when I started going through surgeries and chemo and radiation, and it just tore my body down. By the time I was done, I remember when I rang the bell, Terrence, I got on the scale, I was 89 pounds.
Whoa.
Yeah. So you talk about love in the True Testament. I told Terrence, and I still tell him this to this day, I never loved you more than then.
I bet.
Because when you see somebody, I still get emotional. Oh, Lord, I said I won't go cry. When you see somebody going through something, you can't really do anything.
Yes.
And
you're deteriorating in front of him.
Yes, literally.
Yes.
Every day. And he had to cook for me. He had to pick me up, pack me places. And I was like, man, like, this is love.
It's beautiful.
Like, this is love. I'm like, best friend. Like this is that's why I was like,
it's the king.
My husband, my love that I have for my husband trumps all.
Everything.
Like, this man took care of me when I couldn't even take care of myself.
Absolutely.
And I was like, there was a lady that I was in treatment with. We were doing chemo at the same time. And one day I looked, I was like, where's your husband? Like, where'd he go? And she's like, he couldn't do it. And left her in the middle of treatment. And I was like, man, like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But he stuck it out. And I remember on our anniversary one year, I posted a picture of us. We had went to a gala right when I first started feeling like myself a year.
Mm-hmm.
But my head was this big because everything was swollen.
Oh my
My face
gosh.
was swollen. I was burned from like here down from radiation.
Wow.
And my body was this big.
Wow.
And I posted that picture for one of our anniversary pictures. I said, this picture is not our prettiest. Well, Terrence is like, this is one of my favorite pictures. I'm like, I look like Skeletor, but okay. But I posted it because I said, I know why this is probably your favorite picture. I said, but this picture exudes strength. Like this picture exudes what real sickness and health,
Yes.
rich, poor, better or worse. Like we checked all the boxes.
Absolutely.
Like all of the boxes. And I was like, and I remember on my post, I was like, I chose this picture because this is true sickness and health. Because
Yes.
I was a bag of bones.
Yeah.
And he still made me look like I was thick. And clearly I was not.
On the podcast, we talk about how we feel on the inside and how that's displayed on the outside. That photo is not who he married, though.
Right.
He saw past all that.
All of that.
He saw past all that.
Uh-huh.
And the beautiful thing about love is that love doesn't have like a shape or a voice or a hair length. You know, we're in the studio constantly talking about the desired mate that we want, and we're describing these outside things that we feel like are going to attract us. But at the end of the day, if all of that is stripped away, that love is what is going to keep you and survive. The love is what, and like you said, the love grows. It gets longer, gets stronger, gets so much better because of situations like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I tell people, it's so funny. Charmaine, I used to, the boutique was in 360 Degrees Hair Studio.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the stylists there, Charmaine, she's so sweet. She said, Candice, you and Terrence been married a long time. She's like, what did the cancer like when you had cancer? Because they're watching me go through this as well. And then they see me, bounce back. And she asked me right before I left and moved to my new space. She's like, how did the cancer like affect your marriage? I said, the cancer really sealed the deal.
Wow.
As if I didn't love him already. I was like, I loved Terrence even more. I said, for somebody to have to pack you in places.
Yes.
Because you are so sick and you're so weak that you cannot even walk.
Yeah.
And for them to feed you when you don't want to feed yourself, I'll never forget when I had to get the feeding tube. I was in the hospital bed and they were like, well, let's show you how to do the tube. And I was like, no, because I don't want it. And he's like, because I was writing on a whiteboard and I had to turn it around because I couldn't talk. So I would write.
Being defiant on the whiteboard.
I would write and I would turn around. And then they kept saying, well, we're going to teach you sign language in case you don't get your voice back. And I kept
my
them,
gosh.
I said no. And I refused the lady. I wouldn't learn the sign language. I wrote on the board. I said, my God is bigger.
I know that's right.
I'm getting my voice back and I'm going to talk. Don't come in here. I don't want to learn anything. Right. Nothing against sign, nothing against sign language.
Absolutely.
But I was like, this is not going to be my portion. I'm going to figure out how to talk again. I'm not learning sign language. I'm not getting this feeding tube. Like I was like, everything on the board. No. And so the lady was like, ma'am, you can't continue the chemo if you don't get this feeding tube.
Oh my goodness.
Because you
need your strength.
Little.
Yeah.
And so I was like, just put it in. And so they were like, well, you're so little that we're going to have to put you under because
gosh,
you're so like I was bones. Like I was wearing a 00. When I went into the hospital, I was wearing an 8. I went from an 8 to 00. So so they put me down, they put me in, and so when they came in to teach me how to use it, I turned my head to the side. And he was like, he was like sitting like, because I'm in the bed, he's sitting like where you are. He got up, came around the side, and he told the lady, just show me how to do it. And so he, they showed how to do it. So he would put the stuff in there and he would wash it and flush it and change the gauze. And I wouldn't do it. And it wasn't until, I think it was like a week and a half later, Chase noticed that I wasn't doing it, that Dad was doing it all the time. And he was like, well, let me feed you, mommy. And I was like, okay, Candice, you gotta put yourself together. And then I was like, but he had to show me how to do it because I wouldn't do it. I refused. But that's that love, man.
Yes.
That's like
A routine.
yeah.
A routine. I've really started to study, the spiritual, and have just focused on God and how he's constantly sending us signs, how our prayers and thoughts are constantly manifesting.
Yeah.
And I don't take for granted those signs, those synchronicities, those things that happen. They're not coincidence. They're not by chance. Someone coming in your church and speaking and sharing about oral cancer.
Yeah.
And then you having pain, so much pain in your teeth that you needed to get your teeth removed, your wisdom teeth. It was all God.
It was
all God. So we're airing this episode in the month of October. We're talking about, breast cancer, but we want to also bring this to the forefront because this is, like Candice said, this is rare.
Right.
So let's talk about adenoid cystic carcinoma. Can this happen, to someone in the future? Is there something that we need to be aware of?
Yes. So what I tell everyone, I am now the dental advocate.
Okay.
So I tell everyone to please make sure it is free. If you have insurance, it is free. And they even have centers that you can go to. Your oral cancer screening should be a part yearly of when you're going in for your cleaning, your dentist should be shining that light in there to do your oral cancer screening every time you get a cleaning. So because the problem is the reason so many people, what they told me, only 1 in 5 make it with what I had. And the reason being is
and you're the chosen one.
I'm the chosen one. And the reason also is because they call it a silent killer because you don't know. My doctor even told me that when it was going up toward the nasal cavity, and he said typically what will happen is it'll misdiagnose when people are in their sleep or something and they die from it. Sometimes it'll be misdiagnosed because if it goes up to your brain, get an aneurysm and kill you. So people think it's a brain aneurysm.
Oh my gosh.
Instead of the cancer.
Yeah.
So
and we hear about brain aneurysms a lot. Yes.
So he's like, a lot of times, sometimes they can be misdiagnosed. He's like, but you have to get your cancer screenings because early detection is key.
Early detection will save your life.
It will save your life. So
I think that's really important. Y'all clean your teeth, please, first of all. I mean, just clean your teeth.
Yes.
Just have great breath.
Yes.
I think most insurance companies will pay for your cleaning through your insurance. Get your teeth clean. We have a great Dr. Batiste is a great doctor here in Houston.
Yes, she's our dentist too.
But get your teeth cleaned, and then while you're in there, I remember when I was there, they said it's, I think my insurance, it was going to be a $35 additional fee. But when they even mentioned that to me, I'd never heard of that before. And I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, let's do it. Why not? Like, let's do it.
Right.
I can pay for, a drink. I can pay for, so let me do that.
Right.
But I never heard of this until I was working with you. We were working with the Harveys of Houston and you were sharing your story. And I remember you were speaking so eloquently and you said, even my voice has been affected. I think your voice is amazing. How different is your voice now from then?
So now it's clear.
Okay.
I have, I'll let you listen. That's the roof of my mouth. It's plastic.
Okay. So it sounds like you're tapping your teeth. So the roof of your mouth is the
prosthetic.
Okay.
So that is called an obturator.
Okay.
So what the obturator does, my mouth, in the top of my mouth, where you take your tongue and graze it all across the top, I don't have any of that. So it's a hole. It's a gaping hole.
Right now.
So when I take out the obturator, I sound like Miss Piggy because it's hollow.
So do you take it out like often?
Every day.
Oh, wow.
It comes out every day. So I have to take it out. I have to clean it. I'm supposed to not sleep in it, but don't tell Dr. Bertie. Sometimes I fall asleep. But I don't, even at home when it's out, I do not sound like this.
Yeah.
I sound like Miss Piggy because
But how does Miss Piggy sound? Okay.
So the voice sounds like that.
Okay.
Because there's nothing, when you think about it, you don't even realize how your tongue hits the roof of your mouth, the back of your teeth when you talk. Well, when I take the obturator out, it's not hitting anything but air. So I'm very,
Oh
very,
my
very, very
gosh.
nasally. So when I first had surgery, it was just very nasal, like
Mm.
nasal. I mean, horrible. This is my third obturator. So I went through three of them for them fitting and molding and tweaking and
Mm-hmm.
blowing in things and singing and
Mm-hmm.
saying letters to be able to get it back. And then I had to kind of train myself to talk with it because it's foreign. Like,
Yeah,
it's
it's something different in your mouth.
right.
Even
So,
if I get like an abscess, I start playing with it.
yeah.
Until I get to the dentist, I'm just on that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything in your mouth. If there's a
Anything.
piece of meat in my teeth, I'm playing with it until I get some floss.
Yeah, to get it out.
Yeah.
So it's connected by silver
Okay.
connectors on either side. So it hooks onto my teeth in order to give me, I don't have these back teeth either. So the
Wow.
back teeth are hooked onto there.
Okay.
So now I can have these back teeth and then it can close up the hole
All right.
so I can talk. So yeah, Dr. Batiste, when I go over there, they treat me special. I'm a special case. When I have to get cleanings or filling, anything that I have to get done, it's a special case over there. So but they
Wow.
do an amazing job. I
Yeah.
love them so much. But yeah, it's a process, but it's worth it.
I want to talk a few minutes about your faith in God and how you stayed positive, how you were able to push through these moments. Because like I said earlier, when you hear the word cancer,
Mhm.
it sounds scary. It sounds
Yeah.
like you've been given a death sentence.
Right.
We all know eventually we're going to come to the end of
Right.
this life that we're living. But
Uh-huh.
when you hear cancer, now you have a more specific time frame that you're
Right.
dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
How did you say, because mentally you've got to tell yourself, I'm going to get through this.
Right.
And like you said, I'm going to talk, I'm going to speak again.
Yeah.
What happened? Who is Candice to even have that kind of faith? I know you just need a mustard seed,
I was
Candice.
just going to say, all you need is, I tell people, all you need is a mustard seed of faith. I also tell people, when you get a sentence of a cancer,
Mm-hmm.
you have to first, I tell everybody this, the mind is a powerful thing.
Yes, it is.
So you have got to tell yourself, you have to win the battle in your mind before you physically do it.
So you changed your
So you
mindset.
have to change your mindset. Even in the Bible speaks about there's nothing like a sound mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that there's nothing like a sound mind, because if the devil can infiltrate your
Yes.
mind and gather your thoughts, then you're not able to think clear. You're not able to be in faith clearly, and your faith will be tested.
Yeah, it starts to waver.
It starts to waver, but you have to always remind yourself. I used to get up every day and I would say, my faith will supersede my fears.
Mm-hmm.
I am whole. I will be whole. I'm an overcomer. I'm a survivor. I will live. I will live to tell this story.
Yes.
I will live to encourage other women who may be diagnosed with breast cancer, lung cancer, any of these cancers,
Yes.
to let them know that, but with God, nothing shall be impossible.
Right.
He can do anything.
Anything.
All you need is a mustard seed of faith. And my mom used to tell me, I'll never forget, it was on that fourth surgery, and I was laying in that bed and I was crying. And she said, you have to decide. You have to make a choice.
Mm.
Are you going to have faith or are you going to have fear? Because you can't have both.
Hmm.
And ever since then, I always say I'm rolling with faith over fear.
Yes.
And my faith will supersede my fears because it's inevitable. We're
Yeah.
human. So you're going to wake up and you're going to have that one day. That chemo used to kick my butt. The
Mm.
first 2 weeks, I'll never forget. I was like, what's everybody complaining about? Chemo's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
And the third one, I was on that toilet throwing up, weak,
Oh.
sick as a dog.
Did you have to cut your hair off?
I told Keitha, I said, cut it off.
Keith is a hairstylist here in
Keitha's
Houston.
my hairstylist, 360 Degrees Hair Studio. Go see her. I said, Keitha, I always go in between short and long styles anyway. So I was like, just cut it short. Just short. And she was like, well, you're not going to even wait. I said, that's the controller in me.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to cut it before it falls out.
Mm.
I want to be in control. I still wasn't in control because it's still in the middle. And the crazy part about it, in the middle is where it got like
Bald.
Balls, like right here.
Mm-hmm.
But the other parts of it just shed. It never really got ball all over. It only hit it like right there, but it was so thin. It shed so bad. But I wanted to be in control of it, so I made her cut it before it could just fall out.
So how long was this battle?
Okay, so I was diagnosed in January. Um, it was, I think, on my fourth or fifth, because every time you have to keep getting scanned to see if it's fully gone. Scan you again, scan you again. I want to say it was September. It was August. No, September. It was September when I got that last scan that they were like, all the cancer's gone.
Praise God.
So I was like, God, you're so good. So 8-9 months
Wow.
that I went through. So almost a year.
Yeah.
But it took me probably about another year after to really feel like myself. People always talk about weight and people gaining weight,
Yeah.
and people don't understand the loss of weight. It's
Yeah.
just as traumatic
Yeah.
as gaining weight.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, a lady was like, she was in the store. She was like, in the boutique, and she's like, you're so little. You're so cute. You're so small. I need to be on whatever you're on. And I said, ma'am, you do not want this.
Right.
And she's like, why? And I told her my story. She's like, you have trained me. I will never say that to anybody again. I was like, I was not this little. I was like, I'm only this little now because I just fought cancer. I was like, but I don't wish this on my worst enemy. I do not wish cancer on anybody. It's
How did God
hard.
prepare you for this? Prior to this happening, you had to have built up that faith.
Oh, yeah.
Because God knew you were going to go through this. So what happened right before this so that you were ready to fight this battle?
I have always been a woman of faith. Always. I have been going to church in my faith, in Bible studies, school, some vacation Bible school. I have been in church literally since I was probably, I think I caught the Holy Ghost at like 6.
Yes.
And it wasn't until all of this, when I got diagnosed, I was like, okay, so you were getting me ready.
Yeah.
You were getting me ready because you knew that my faith was about to be tested.
We've heard the sayings, like they say, like God gives his toughest battles to stronger soldiers. I know that I know that there is, a work that's going on behind the scenes to come out and say that, to be able to encourage other women, to see how strong you are, and certainly don't look like this. What you've been through, for sure. We see all the TCB beautiful fashion, but to know that, the story behind that is remarkable.
Right. It's a lady that came into the boutique right after I had started working, because I was working full-time and the boutique was part-time. And I had just became full-time in the boutique. Like, this is it. This is my bread and butter. God saved me. I was about to die. I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing what I love.
Yeah.
And at the time, the plant I was at, it closed. And one of my sponsors was like, well, come over here to oil and gas. Like, come over here. I'm like, I just let these people lay me off, get this package. And I'm going to go work for myself. I was like, I can always come back.
Yeah.
But I did never come back. But there was a lady, and I'll never forget that first month, it was so slow. And I was like, I have quit my good experience. What is happening? God, I thought you told me to do this, but then I listened. I don't know if I heard you right. Maybe he was right. I should have took another job, because it was literally so slow. And there was a lady that came into the boutique, and she was looking for a brooch, and we were sold out. And Tracy was there at the time. I left, went to UPS to go pick up a shipment that we missed, and I was like, I have them actually in my car until I'm coming back. And Tracy is like, she didn't want to, she's like thinking, I think she's going to leave or whatever. So the lady ends up leaving, and she came back though, because she said, I'll come another day. I've had like a day. I'm going to come another day.
Yeah.
Lady ends up coming back. When she came back into the boutique, she was looking up. I had a shirt that said, Kiss Cancer Goodbye. And she's like, oh, that's neat. Like, who has cancer, or who had cancer or something? And I was like, oh, that's an oral cancer awareness shirt. I'm an oral cancer survivor. then, I'm an advocate now for everybody to go
Yes.
get their screening. So I'm like, you need to make sure you
Right.
get your oral cancer screen. Are you getting your teeth
Right.
cleaned? I'm going on and on and on. And I just, give her a snippet, a fast forward version of my testimony. I have these wisdom teeth pulled. Didn't know I had cancer. Went to 4 surgeries, chemo, radiation. Went from 150 pounds down to 89 pounds. But God is good and I'm here. So don't you be mean. Da, da, da. And these tears started rolling down her face, silent.
Mm.
And I looked at her, but I could tell that the tears weren't from the testimony. I could see it and I could feel it in my spirit that like it's something going on here.
Mm-hmm.
So I just embraced her. This is pre-COVID days. I'm such a hugger. COVID is really, I'm
Right.
I probably have COVID 100 times, but people I be hugging. So I embraced her and I hugged her and I said, whatever it is, God is in control.
Yes.
And I said, that's it. God is in control.
Yes.
I said, you have to know that he's the author and the finisher of our faith.
Yes.
And I want you to know that he's in control.
Mm-hmm.
And so she stepped back from me and she said, I was going home. She said, she told me you were on the way, but I was going home. She said, God sent me back.
Mm.
And I said, well, I guess, he sent you back. And she said, you wouldn't even believe this. And I said, what? She said, before I came here, I got diagnosed with cancer.
Wow.
And you're the first person that I told.
Wow, Candice.
When I tell you we were in there.
Oh, my God.
we're all in there dry heaving.
Goosebumps.
I was crying.
Look at God.
Like a baby. And I said, God,
it's not a coincidence.
I said, God, I said, you sent her here.
Mm.
She came back for herself.
Mm.
But you sent her for me.
Yes.
Because I, in that moment, was like, did I do the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
And he sent her to say, yes.
Yes.
You did do the right thing. That this boutique is glamorous.
Yes.
The fashions are great. And it's a camaraderie. But this is a community for women. A place and a safe haven.
Yes.
For you to speak, to let my children know that for with God, nothing shall be impossible. Cancer, sickness, whatever that they're going through. I saved you for a time as this.
You're preaching, Candice.
This is what you're supposed to do.
I love this.
Yeah. He's like, this is why. He said, so I know it's, you got all the clothes and everything. And that's just what's getting them in the door.
Get them in here.
But you have to tell them. And it's so funny because I remember I was telling Keith, I was like, I'm not talking about the kids anymore. Nobody want to hear that. I'm time to talk about the kids. And she's like, are you crazy? And I was like, I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, people heard that story. I don't need to tell it anymore. And she's like, no.
That's your testimony.
She said, that's your testimony. That's a piece of who you are.
Yeah.
She's like, and everybody hasn't heard it. It's a billion people in the world. Girl, bye. You need to continue
when
to tell it.
When I brought you on the podcast, I said, is there anything that you want to talk about? Because I know that sometimes once people get past certain things, they don't want to talk about it. I feel like it was a beautiful testimony that it deserved to be shared. But we had my sisters on the show, and I've shared with them how I kept having a recurring dream. And I spoke to my father, who was a pastor, and my father interpreted that dream and said, God wants you to use the podcast because you're going to be speaking to, well, he didn't say the podcast, but he said, God wants you to do something. And he says, I see you speaking to women in an unorthodox way. Mm-hmm. And he says, do you know what God wants you to do, Lisa? Because God kept telling me to start the podcast, but I've always been behind the scenes working in radio, and I didn't want to do anything by myself. And he said, do you know what God is saying? I said, I know, God, I know exactly what you're saying. I'd had that thought kept coming to me so many times. I was just so afraid to move on it. But since I've talked to other people, I've noticed that God uses you in the way that he's given you your gift to still give him the glory. God doesn't, you have clothes and you're like, I started a clothing boutique, but God's like, no, you in here preaching in this. That's you know what I'm saying? Here, right? We have no idea how God's going to take that gift and manifest it, but God's going to get his glory.
He is. And it doesn't matter. And I tell people, and I have even said, I remember when I was praying I think it was our 8th year anniversary at the boutique. And that morning I woke up and I was praying, just giving God thanks for allowing me to even be in business for 8 years. And I said, God, I promise never take my gifts. I will
Yes.
always use them for you, and to never take my gift, because when God gives you a gift
Yes.
and you don't use it,
Yes.
he'll take it.
Yes.
And I said, God, please, if I've ever mishandled your gift, if I've ever mishandled the calling, to please forgive me, and God, to please always use me. And then that's when I also said to myself, Candice, keep this right. You cannot not tell this story.
Candice, when you were saying that, when you were saying, I told Keith I wasn't, the first thing I thought of was Jonah. And Jonah didn't want to talk. You know what? Jonah didn't want to talk. God took Jonah, put him in the well. But you know what? We have to. Yeah, you're going to go out there and you're going to talk and you're going to tell my people what I told you to tell them.
Yes.
One way or another, it's going to be said.
Right. It is. So I said, God, you know what? I submit to the call.
Yes.
For whatever you have me to do,
Yeah.
whatever you have me to be. And even in seasons in my life where I'm like, God, really? I'm reminded. I see her face clear.
Yes.
And I say she's a survivor as well.
Hallelujah.
And I say, God, you know, whatever the reason
Yeah.
that you saved me and
Absolutely.
kept me here, I have to, and I'll never forget the very, very, very last time I was in the hospital. I was going through treatment, and I had developed bronchitis. I was on the verge of pneumonia.
Oh.
I was so sick, and I said, God, I was in so much pain. I had a bad reaction because they had given me fentanyl and morphine together. And I went cuckoo, was outside my husband was like, you were looking for the gun. You were like, I'm in pain. I'm tired. And I was like, what?
Wow.
I didn't even remember any of this stuff.
Wow.
Because all of the drugs was just like, but this just lets you know the amount of pain that I was in. And I remember I said, God, if you let me wake up, and if you raise me up from this bed, and if you get me out of this pain, I promise that I will tell everybody you did it.
Yes.
And so the very mere thought that I thought in my mind that I was not going to tell this testimony anymore, I don't even know why. I'm like, you must have had a day where you was frustrated.
Yeah.
Because this testimony is a piece of you.
It was just a thought. Soon as you had it, God sent you an accountability partner to remind you.
Got me all the way together.
Got you together. Thank goodness for good friends.
Right.
Thank goodness for like-minded people.
Right.
Thank you for people who speak it.
All the time, too, when people are like, I don't need friends. I don't need girlfriends.
Right.
Well, that's you. Because me, I need my people.
Absolutely.
And I got good people. My people are strong.
Yes. You got a strong group of women.
So,
absolutely.
No, I need all my crews. I was like, no, I need my friends. I don't know why y'all want to be out here talking about you don't need nobody. I need my people.
Right.
I need them. But I was just like, God, you're so good. And so I was like, he healed you. You have to continue to tell the story. You have to let people know. And they have to see that there is victory in the end.
Yes.
Because when you first get that cancer, it's like, it's almost like a horror film.
Yeah.
But when you see somebody that has survived
Yep.
and is victorious, and
That's
you see
beautiful.
that God did it, they couldn't even talk, and now they can't shut up.
Right.
Then, okay, he did it for her. She was on her way out. I'm going to be okay.
Candice, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I'm so glad that I had you here on the podcast. It's a beautiful story. We're so blessed to hear it today.
Thank you.
How can my audience keep up with you, follow you, support you?
All right. So you guys can keep up with me. My personal Instagram is at Candice Easley. The boutique's Instagram is Tresor Cache Boutique. You can find us at shop.tresorcacheboutique.com. And then I have my other Instagram is Step in Candice's Closet. And that was, I was doing consignment, stopped doing consignment. And that's where I'm going to start doing my styling, my tips for women who like, what do I wear? Where do I find good deals? People are always like, where do you find these deals? Where did you find that? And I was like, I cannot bombard the boutique page and Candice's page with that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to revive that page, and all of that is going to house.
Oh, that's going to be good.
If you're a person who likes deals, you can step into the closet and find the deals. So you'll be able to find deals. You'll be able to find styling tips. I'm going to also be doing a series on dressing for the body type.
Yes.
Your undergarments, foundation.
Yeah, because that's important.
Secrets of the closet. So all of that kind of good stuff. So
anything involving the closet, we love.
I was going to say, we love the closet. So that's Step in Candice's Closet. So you'll be able to find deals and all of the things in there. I was like, I can't be putting the dealer's sale on my Tresor.
Right.
Yeah, that's got to go over there. You know,
Off brand.
Right, that's off brand.
We have to stay on brand.
Right, unboxings and all of that.
Yeah.
Over in Candice's closet. So step in Candice's closet for that.
You guys have to go and check out Tresor Cache Boutique. Amazing fashion.
Thank you.
Great style.
Thank
good
you.
prices. You're going to get some good stuff.
Thank
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I had an amazing time.
And thank you guys. We'll see you again next time on In Their Closet.